spot in our, which I already have, which is called dashboard. So a new page, a new sheet, and a new page, because I'm going to be putting reusable elements probably somewhere either in here or in the default sheet. This is, questions of app organization. How do you organize yourself when it comes to Noodle? Because I could put the course card in dashboard, but then I'm probably going to create a kind of course sheet later, which is going to contain all the different elements that I need to create a course, all the different pages and steps that we go through in the sort of course creation wizard. So I don't want it just to be in dashboard. It probably would be better in default. And in default, I would do a couple of main folders. I would say these folders are going to be where I store certain elements. So let's say one of them is going to be called global visual elements, components, and global logic components. So I have that already read. Oh no, that's silly. That was silly. Folder, global logical components already. So I'll probably put the card in here. Can you already put it in there? The more, when I get started like this, it seems like really disorganized, but it's really just me trying to kind of sketch out in pencil what it's going to look like in my head and on here. And then I know that I can rub things out, I can move things, and then when I put something down in pen, then I'm getting serious. But at the beginning, I like to have a big pencil sketch, and then little by little come back to it and think, okay, how can I make this better? How can I package this up and make it lighter? Is this the best data call? Am I doing the most efficient thing with the database and whatever? So just kind of throw things up there. This is my way to do it. I don't know if it is a way to do it. I know it is a way to do it. Might not be your way, but it works really well for me. I find it hard to think about all the different possible things that could go wrong or ways to make things elegant and how things connect together. Like, I'm not a chess player, for example. I never was able to think several moves ahead in chess. Which makes me a really bad chess player. But in development, I can't think that far ahead. I have to have something on the screen first, and then I start to think about how I can make it better. So that's just the way I roll. So we're gonna make a visual component, and we're gonna call it, is it a course or a lesson? So in Nurnbook there are, so we need to get the terminology right, and it's in French here, so we need to translate it too. So in Nurnbook, you're a teacher, you have a student who is in probably a group, and that group you're going to teach them tomorrow. So the group is coming, imagine in physical it helps, and then you think about digital. They're coming and sitting in a classroom, you're the teacher, you've got 4 people in front of you, you've got 1 hour and a half, and they expect to be entertained and educated for an hour and a half. So you're going to give them a YouTube video to watch. You'll watch a bit together. You'll stop and ask questions. What did you understand? What did you not understand? Okay, let's do a quiz about the words that were difficult in that video. Okay, now we're going to do a conversation activity, practicing those words with each other. So making up sentences and talking to each other with these words. And then we finish the class and I say, okay, that was great for homework. Let's practice that same list. And you can write the words into a sentence about what you did, what you're going to do between now and the next lesson, something like that. So those are the steps I just described are what in Learnbook we call sections. So lesson plan is in sections. So it would be like the intro would be like me showing the video. The theory would be like the words that were difficult. Observation task would be me doing conversation with the learners. And then there would be another section called homework. And in Learnbook, that's represented as another tab. There we go. So you have this conversation and homework tab. So you can activate a homework and say, okay, this part is the homework part, which means that I'm expecting an answer and I see which answers have been given, which answers haven't been given. So yeah, you might wonder why I have this deep insight in the Learnbook, it's because I was a language teacher for a long time in Paris, and also I built the first version of Learnbook to help me teach. That was how I got into development 7 years ago. So this is a long time project. So I described sections. The sections are part of a lesson, and a course is a collection of lessons. So tomorrow's lesson might be lesson 4 in a course of 20 lessons, right? So when I see this bit, these are lessons, and then it tells me how many sections there are and how many sections, maybe this like 3 out of 6 is like how many have been complete, because here you can see 2 out of 2 complete. So these are lessons, and this is a lesson card. So now, come back here, lesson card. Getting the terminology right is just so important with an app like this, where there's like several layers of data and a hierarchy, like a kind of data tree that we really need to get right. And I know this because even talking to the client of this project, I'm not the main client of the project, somebody else, even though I've been the developer for 7 years, and talking to the designer and talking to other stakeholders in the project, it always takes time for people to actually understand, and they get confused and forget things, and I have to remind them, no, that's a lesson, that's a section, that's a message, that's a homework, because there's there's so much terminology. It's really important to get that right. Okay, so that's my pencil drawing. I have a lesson card. It has nothing in it, but I'm just thinking about it. So I'm going to do the dashboard first. Why? I don't know. I just feel like it. So I'm going to kind of look at this and think, what do I need in terms of horizontals and verticals to get this stuff to go where I want it to go? Do I have a pen or something? Yeah, I do have a pen. Ooh, highlighter. Nice. Does that highlight? Yeah, it does highlight. That's cool. No, I don't want that. Let's do a pen. Let's do a thick pen. Red. Ooh, nice. Okay, so I know I've got my main container box, which I believe I'm going to want to separate. If this part is to be sort of kept, I want to separate it into 2. So this box is going to be a horizontal group, and it's going to be the main container. One thing I have to keep in mind during this app is that the designer, we're not doing a mobile version yet, but the designer was told to design this with mobile responsiveness in mind. And so at one point in the future, this will need to shrink. I'm not going to do, I don't think I'm going to have time or budget in this project to actually do a full mobile version. So it would be better if this was just responsive ready, let's call it. So things like that right menu, things to do, is probably going to disappear, I would say, in the responsive part. And then where it says like welcome William Miller, and then Linguid is your organization that you're a part of, which you can change. I would say that'll probably stay where it is. This bit that says reprendre avenir is restart. So like pick up where you left off, and avenir would be the future courses. So it's 2 tabs. That'll probably stay. And then maybe these will become a bit more of like a column, maybe 1 or 2, or just 1 with like a left and right arrow or something like that. And then the learners part, apprenants learners, that'll shrink down the mobile size, and courses will go on underneath it, I would say, probably. So stack them. So just have to keep these in mind, because that's how I'm going to build my boxes. So this box, can I get a different color? Yeah. So this inner box is gonna be, oh Jesus, making a mess. Is gonna be a call, receiving a response from the server. Thanks. So it's gonna be a column. Top line is gonna be the header line. Group, this line is gonna be like the metadata about you group, profile group. Then there's gonna be a repeater group with 2 tabs. That's again going to be part of that horizontal version, and then the bottom will be a group that's split into two. So yeah, whatever. Reload. And you've lost everything, haven't you? Yes, you've lost everything. Fabulous. So let's do that again then. We'll do red. So outer group. I'm really making a mess. I'm gonna use my trackpad. Which is two, which is a horizontal, and then inner group, which is gonna be like top bar, this bar, this bar. This is getting a bit bananas. This bar, and then this one's gonna be split into two because I needed the stack in mobile. So let's make that pink or something. So this one and this one. Obviously this is just a column, so it's okay. I can do that in a repeater. And this I'll work it out afterwards. So okay, I sort of know where I'm going with that. So group me up. Top group we said was horizontal, so main bit and side bit. Where am I? Dashboard. And yeah, next bit is going to be, so there are two subgroups in there. So let's start naming these guys. So this is the main container. This is the left dashboard main. This is the right dashboard main. And then within left dashboard main, there was header logo group. There was, what was it? Pro user data profile. No, it was user info group. It's more for me that I name these things, but yeah, just in case there's another developer ever working on this, I don't want them to be confused. It's a bit like code comments. You know, I see naming things a bit like naming your variables properly in JavaScript so that other people can actually know what they are and not like have some random weird word that only you understand. Then we had the lessons group. Let's call it the recent lessons group. I know it's future ones as well, but that's fine. And then we have the learners and groups container. I think that's all. Yes. Yes. Okay. So the header one is going to be, this one is a vertical one. The header is going to be a vertical one because we have nothing. Well, we'll make it horizontal. In theory, it's going to be something horizontal, either just a logo or other things that maybe will come in the future, like logout button or something. User info group is vertical except for this bit, which is horizontal. So we need another group in here that's horizontal that has the search bar. So this is org and search group. This one is a column, but there is a top bit with pills. I'm not entirely sure what I'm going to do with that yet, and it has little left and right arrows. But anyway, I do need to have that in there. So this is the recent lessons nav group. Don't need to type group every time, but it just makes me feel better. Recent lessons nav group, and then the bottom one will be the repeater. Group, because there will be a repeater in it, so don't want it to get confused. And why, I don't know. I mean, a repeater can be there on its own, but I do prefer repeaters being in groups. If you don't have it in a group, then it's not going to behave, it doesn't have responsive properties. It behaves responsively with respect to its parent group. So I'd rather have one group that contains it And if it shrinks, then the repeater will shrink, and I can tell it how to shrink with columns. So I'll put columns in there, and I'll show you how that works afterwards. ATI. And then a repeater. So we're going to have a repeater split into different columns. We'll talk about that in a minute. And that's where we're going to have our cards, but we don't need to do that just yet. Well, we can actually. We can already say that the repeater is going to contain lesson cards. So repeaters always contain visual components. Even if it's just a text, even if it's just a repeater that repeats a text, it has to contain some sort of visual component. Either one that you explicitly find in your list or one that you define dynamically, but that's a pretty tricky thing to do. It's essentially saying I'm going to define the path to the visual element you're going to use dynamically, maybe with a function or something that changes depending on what kind of input it's getting, but we do not want that right now. Lesson cards. So that is ready to go. That is the lesson repeater, and this is the lesson repeater columns. This all seems very theoretical because you can't see anything yet, but this is just kind of where you get to with Noodle, being able to see it in your head. So we said this bottom group has two side-by-side groups. Learner group has a learner group and a... By the way, I'm right-clicking every time I'm going into the... I saw a lot of people saying, oh, I don't like having to click the plus all the time. I'm like, yeah, and then when you click the plus to get a new element, it goes to the bottom of your tree, which is really annoying. So somebody very quickly from the Noodle team told me, oh, you just right-click, like you're supposed to know that. Like, I didn't know that. So here, now I know it. Lessons group. Okay, so that's that. And then, yeah, I guess there's, so that I said that has to be horizontal. So those are going to be side by side. And then we're going to have a button and a group here. Yeah, we need like a little kind of tab group thing. Learners info group. And that's a vertical one. And then we'll do the same for lessons info group. Done. That is our structure. So it's quite tall already. I would say that's about as tall as I wanted to go without thinking to myself, I'm going to put these into components and store them individually so that the page itself will contain like 3 bits, maybe even just a main container bit and a right dashboard bit. That's probably actually what it should be. I'm saying it, and actually it should be that, because now I'm going to have to make in here as well the top bar there, like the top kind of profile bar. And this kind of repeater area. So this is going to be called the notifications area. I'm saying area. That's not the terminology I was using. Container, container or group. It's a good terminology. Title plus repeater, and the repeaters are pretty standard repeaters. So let's just put in a repeater because we already know it's going to go there. Oops. You're a child. You are a child. So notifications repeater. We don't have a template for that yet, so we're not going to put a template, just leave it for now. Now it's getting pretty tall, so I would like to put it into groups, but again, pencil sketching, so I'd rather start to get logic components on the side of this, telling it what kind of data it's getting, and then once the logic components, the query backend components are all next to the visual bits, then I'll start packaging them up because I'll know which bits are kind of important to stay together or not. Right now it's all purely visual, so it's not really worth that, I don't think. So right now it's all white because there is no content. So we need to actually start adding some content for this. You can actually see the blue line at the top kind of flickering as I'm looking at groups that are all collapsed to 0 height because they have no content. They're all at 100%, 100% probably width and height, and so there is no width or height at the moment, so they're all just kind of floating in space. The right group is gonna, let's make the color of the right main dashboard group orange, Learnbook orange. And let's do a logo. So logo is an image. Header logo group image. And the image is going to be, so the images in your project, you got to either have them already uploaded somewhere or you stick them into your project folder. So, and if you put them in your project folder, then as far as I know, that gets deployed with your project to the cloud. So the images that you have in your local project folder will then end up in the cloud, I think. I hope that's right. So to get to your project folder, I don't know if on Windows it's the same, but in the settings, you've got open project folder. I will show you the project folder. So there it is. So this is your Noodle project. It's got fonts, it's got modules. So in theory, you can add things from, that's when we're adding stuff from the, the modules library. So like, something to link it to GraphQL or to do HTML bits and stuff like that, which I do actually need. I want that, so I'm going to install that. So installing modules will just mean that then in Noodle modules, you're going to have custom HTML module. So it's very much just like any other development IDE. It's got its own, it's like npm modules. I don't know. It's like a little folder full of useful things that extend your editor's capabilities and your app's capabilities. And prefabs are just things that are they're not modules, they just are like components as opposed to things that are installed locally. Anywho, right here, just directly in the folder, you take your image. I'll see if I can grab it there. Learnbook avatar, where is it? Oh, I don't have it. No, I do not. So let's take a little no, not screenshot. Let us take the this one. So let me just cut that out, lickety split, and I'll be with you. Okay, done. And so I just took a screenshot, so it's a bit silly file name wise, but whatever. So let's just sanitize the name a little bit. Okay, and then image, and now if I click on source, ta-da, Learnbook logo. Whoa, it's quite large. So let's constrain the image. It's in a group, which could constrain the image, but I'd rather just constrain the image itself. So we're going to give it an explicit height and width, and it's going to be contained because we want the image to be in the hierarchy, to be inside the frame and not the overflow. We're going to say it's image height plus a specific width, so then we don't lose the ratio, and it's going to be 200 pixels. That doesn't look too bad. That doesn't look too bad. When I get the Figma, I'm going to fix all these things. This is a pencil sketch. The designer will give me a Figma. I'll have all the shading, I'll have all the proper fonts and all that stuff, but for right now, I'm just